let's do like what do you imagine Hastar would sound like? Maybe try to imitate
Hastar is like mute.
Yeah, what would he sound
What would
like?
he sound like? Yeah, imitate him.
What was the main character's name?
Hastar. Oh, Raga?
Vinayak or
Vinayak, yeah.
Yeah.
Vinayak!
That's just Gollum.
Vinayak!
Hello, mate. Hello, Viet. Hello, I want a doughboy. Give me a doughboy. I think that's how he sounds.
All right, I think we have our opening ready. Yeah. Welcome to Fear of Stairs, Desi Films Decoded, the podcast where four friends from different backgrounds unlock the world of Desi cinema. I'm Winnie, the Desi who's never been to India.
Hi, I'm Killy. I'm a film enthusiast from India. Yeah.
My name is Nikki. Fearful of forgotten gods.
My name is Adam. I'm the Western film buff, and I learned that Killy has no elevator pitch for himself. How many episodes are we in on this? I'm Killy, and I who am I every single time?
Yeah, very soon I want to say, like, I'm a filmmaker from India.
Self-promotion.
This is the third episode.
Yeah, technically we're recording this kind of in the future. No. The other episodes we did will play after this.
Yeah. So this is our Halloween special.
Yeah, Halloween special.
A very interesting movie.
So Killy held a emergency meeting on the phone. He said Halloween's coming up and nobody thought about this and we should watch a scary film.
Yep. So that's why I chose Tumbbad. According to me, it's the best horror film from India.
Why? Or like, just tell us the horror landscape in India.
Okay, so when I was growing up, there were some of the horror films were like good storytelling and everything. Like it had good storytelling, but the Bollywood horror films were like borderlining B-grade films, according to me. Like, the production and the everything. It used to be around like, it's a Purana Haveli, like the old mansion kind of thing where there is a haunting house, like an old mansion, and then there would be like some kind of paranormal creature or a version of ghosts or something like that, and there would be treasure and stuff like that. And then it would be very similar to that, and there would be some stories that has a touch of Indian ghosts and stuff. But the production wise and acting wise, it was not that, like, even when I was growing up, I already was watching Hollywood horror and like other horror films. So they kind of appeared goofy to me. So never been a huge fan of Indian, like Bollywood horror. And then I watched, there were some really nice anthology horror film from India. Like someone is telling horror story to others, and then like individual stories like are horror in itself, and then as a whole they are binded by a thread of horror in itself. So in the storytelling and something like that, there were a few films like that, so they were good. And then there were like very erotic horror films.
Erotic?
Yeah, like there have been very like it's like a sex with ghosts and stuff like that.
Whoa.
Yeah, like erotic ghosts.
Why wasn't
like
that the first movie we saw?
Okay, so I mean, yeah, but they were not. They don't make the cut as a really good film. They are like more of like a.
It's ghosts having sex with people.
Is that like possession film, or is it really just sex with ghosts?
No, ghosts. Not ghosts having sex. It's like someone having sex and then ghosts. They're becoming ghosts because they are murdered. Or there is actually very nice film, but that's very artsy film, which we are stalling for later, where there's a ghost that the ghost is a folklore from Rajasthan, that ghost story, and he is kind of a lover boy ghost. So what happens is like when
like a gay or like for a woman,
like a pimp
for
ghost.
a woman.
Oh, like a younger boy though.
No,
She's
he's
like
a lover.
cougar
He's
for
a
ghost boys?
lover ghost.
What does
Like-
that mean?
So
He has sex with humans.
he loves women.
Uh huh.
So what he does is like when a guy leaves his village in search of like some money, like for his work or something like that. So he takes his shape and form and comes to the wife and have sex with them.
Oh, so he comes in human form and the wife doesn't know.
So
Yeah.
this is a way for men to blame their cheating wife on a ghost or something?
No, it's a folklore. I don't know. I'm not from Rajasthan, so and there is a film. There are films.
In India, is it ghosts that come from human death or do they come from something else?
They come from both. There are like spirits that doesn't come from human death, but then there are different type of ghosts even, and they come from human death. There are like, so I know Bengali ghosts. They have like Shakchuni, which is like a married woman died, dead married woman, like not a widow, dead woman. It's a married woman. So she has like some attires of married woman, and they love fish. And then there is Bembodotti, like it's like he's like a Brahmin ghost, and yeah. And
But these
then-
aren't scary.
No, they are scary.
Oh, okay.
They will kill you.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Were you scared of ghosts growing up?
Just stares.
just stairs. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, no, not particularly. Like, yeah, the ghost stories were not that popular in my household. My mother told me some of the like, the experience, like a haunting experience or something, and I never believed that. And then I was like, oh, okay, fine, whatever. And then, yeah.
Winnie, did you get told? I mean, because growing up in Thailand, they are obsessed with ghosts here.
Yeah. Thai people definitely obsessed with ghosts. Every time we'd go for like a school field trip, when entering a hotel room, my friends would kind of like try to check if there are spirits in the
Yeah.
room, and anything weird that occurs, like it become like a whole big drama. But in my household, it was not really. I think we also grew up in a house where like we would joke around that there are ghosts in the house, so it was not too big of a deal, but it was definitely present, and we were a little bit afraid sometimes.
Did you watch scary movies?
I watched quite a bit of scary movies, but I prefer like the comedy horror genre.
Like what?
Like Tucker and Dale versus Evil, like just like stupid
That's a good
stuff.
movie.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Have you watched What We Do in the Shadows?
No, I have
I've
not seen that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even the 13 Ghosts, I like that film, even though like people hate it. It's so
We got
shit.
so mad. That ruined the bar we go to had a cinema night, and I hosted now at a previous. I hosted it, and he played 13 Ghosts, and that's like caused a revolt
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
everyone was so mad at that movie. I saw that for the first time there, and I got so mad. I thought that movie was horrible.
They would show it on cable nonstop. I think it played on Cinemax like every
It's not a
week.
good
So we
movie,
would just
though.
like watch it over and over again. Yeah, but
Did you watch Thai horror?
a little bit, just like the famous ones like Sepang, Shudder. Shudder is like a Thai film, and it was made into Shudder. Right?
Yeah.
It's the same name, right? American.
It's one of
name.
It
those
was
films
Shutter
that put
Island.
Thailand
Shutter Island,
into
yeah.
the
Wait,
international
that's a
film
little-
scene. Yeah.
Did you watch like any Indian horror?
No. So I don't think I've watched any Indian horror films, or I might have, but I don't remember any. This was definitely the best one I watched. I was not expecting much coming to this film. And I was also not too thrilled about the horror genre for Bollywood because I
You knew
assumed
it
it
was
would be
Nikki.
bad. Yeah, but like this really took me by surprise. I'm actually really impressed. It was a good watch.
Nikki, what's your history with horror?
Yeah. Well, similar to Winnie, I guess. The only kind of like ghost story that ever stuck out with me is like, how when you have like sleep paralysis,
Oh yeah.
and then like
I used to have
Thai
that.
people
Yeah.
would say that it's actually a ghost.
Yeah.
holding you
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Down. And then I've had classmates where they said when they have sleep paralysis, they would see this dark figure. But I think that's just like night tremors.
That's part of sleep paralysis. Is
Yeah.
you usually
Yeah.
see a figure.
Right.
Oh, I never did though.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
it's
yeah, I
horrifying.
get that as well.
I
It's
see
scary.
it. It happens to me to this day. Sometimes
You have sleep paralysis?
sometimes.
Oh god, I dated
It's-
someone with it, and it's like life ruining.
Yeah.
It sucks. so
Yeah, I
bad.
had
it's
I
really
had when I was a
horrifying.
kid. Yeah.
That's horrible when you're a kid too.
Yeah.
Did you see a figure?
No, I didn't see. I was just couldn't move. I was like wide awake, but
you
I couldn't
see?
move.
I've seen black figures in the night, even
Oh.
this year, last year
Jesus.
as well.
Oh, yeah.
And I was so terrified there might be a ghost watching.
So like when I was in the States, I would never have sleep paralysis, and every time I'd come back to visit my mom's house in Thailand, I would get it. And I would see this like old woman figure as one. I was so convinced that like that house is haunted because it never happens anywhere else.
Yeah,
Interesting.
because they exorcised all the ghosts in America, and then all the Thailand they didn't do it. Yeah.
But there's a scientific your theory behind sleep paralysis? Like,
Oh yeah, of
No,
course.
we're not saying
It's
it.
I mean, that's how I made myself feel better when I had it. I'm like, let me read up the science behind it.
No
It
one's
can't be
doubting
ghosts.
sleep paralysis. You guys both have it.
yeah. By the way, like diverting a bit, like the story I was talking about the Rajasthani folktale, like the film. It's a really good film. It's like an art house film. It's called Duvida, like a dilemma, and was directed by a very famous director called Manikal, and they remade it in Bollywood later called Paheli with Shah Rukh Khan. But it's not a scary story. It's a romantic story with ghosts involved in it. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
Did you guys
carry
ever
on.
play games like ghost games?
Like
In
Ouija
Thailand, we have
board?
Helian, like the ghost coin or Luigi board. Yeah.
I only
You guys
play
ever did it?
ghost horror video games.
What's the coin thing?
So the coin thing is you with other people, you put your fingers on a coin and you write like A, B, C, D numbers and everything, and then
Ouija
you
board.
call in the ghost. Pretty much, I think it works the same way. And then the coin will just magically start moving to letters to like form a word or a sentence, right? But then everyone's kind of like, no, who's moving the coin? Who's moving the coin? So everyone's just like, no, it wasn't me. It's just moving by itself.
Did you
Yeah.
move it ever?
No, I never moved it, but it always moved. Nikki, you never played this? It was so common in high school.
Ouija
middle
boards?
School. Yeah.
I've
and,
heard
like, a
of
coin.
people doing Ouija boards, but I've never done one myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Spirits.
So yeah, I grew up super Christian, which we talk about in a future episode. But I didn't watch scary films for forever. I was never into it. So when I started finally getting into film, like around 13 and 14, I grew up so scared of horror films. I remember now. Well, one time I was at Disneyland when I was younger. I want to say I was like 8 or 10 or something, and I went on the Haunted Mansion, and I was so afraid of like scary things at the time that like I got all the way from the queue to the front of the ride, and by the time I got to the front, I was just like crying so bad that they had to take me off before I got on the ride and stuff. I had to like really work up the nerve to go on the Haunted Mansion, which is now like my favorite ride. And same with horror, like I was just too scared to watch it for a long time, even when I was watching like normal movies. And it wasn't, I think, until I kind of came to Thailand, and horror movies are super prevalent in Thailand. Like,
Yeah.
kind of opposite of India. Like horror is like the main, I don't know, like cinema output besides maybe like romantic stuff. They do a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
have watched
horror.
really good horror films in Thailand. And
And-
the horror genre is really good here.
It's
yeah.
really good. And it exposed me, so I'll get to this. It exposed me to different types of ghosts. Because different cultures have different types of ghosts
yeah, of course.
that I wasn't
of course.
aware of coming from America. Part of the nice thing about watching horror films is it completely exposes the culture to like what they believe in and stuff.
Yeah.
So like in American horror, like the haunted house stuff, or like the Annabelle, like it's tied to a doll, or it's tied to a house, it's tied to properties, because like Americans are obsessed with like private ownership. Or same with like British ghosts too. Like you're stuck in the house forever. Like you have perpetual ownership of something even after you die. Right? Which is just like baked into the culture of just like property ownership, which is why like everything just still belongs to you in perpetuity, even if you pass, and that's what haunts people's objects, because like we fetishize them. And then when in Thailand, they're very much like in the Buddhist tradition, like it's about actions committed by the person and they have to pay for it. So like it's either like rebirth, or they do some bad action and have to like account for it, right? But it's like kind of their own actions that do it. And usually they're in the woods and stuff. That's how I picked up on the private property of the American horror stuff, is because the Thai stuff isn't necessarily tied to a house all the time.
no,
Right? It's
yeah.
just like in the area.
It's the area. So there are privatized, like private property hosts in Indian stories. It's like Jock who guards the wealth of some treasure or something. It's like you sacrifice someone. So the story goes like, when you put a treasure down, you sacrifice someone there, and their soul will, like their ghosts will guard that treasure forever. So whoever tries to access the wealth, apart from maybe who is supposed to get that wealth,
Well-
whoever else, with that ghost will fight them off.
See, but that's the difference though. So, and in this movie, this is what it exposed me to it, is so yeah, in America it's like private ownership. In Thailand it's kind of like one's own actions and fixing that. In this, it's generational and ancestral.
Yeah.
And same with what you're saying, even though it is like about like a private property thing, it's still stuck to only certain people can get this in perpetuity. It's still stuck in like a class system
Yeah.
that just exists forever that you're stuck in. And that's what this movie,
Yeah.
which we can get into, it exposed, was like ancestral heritage that you just can't escape from. And that was nice to see. Like,
Yeah.
it completely exposes society's beliefs in their scary movies.
Yeah.
So on that note,
Yeah, no, I mean, adding to all that, so it's like folk horror, right? I think Thailand is heavy with, folklore, ghosts. You'll have like I can think of some examples now, like Grasu, which is like this woman's head and her intestines are like coming out, or you have like the Nang Takian, which is more like this woman that infests this big tree. I forgot the type of tree, but you cannot cut the tree because it'll, make the spirit angry or whatever.
yeah, that's pretty big in Thai society. We believe that trees harbor the spirits.
Which is just more in tune with like nature and stuff. America doesn't have that as much. And same with England. It's just buildings that you make that it's forever tied to. It's not nature.
Yeah. So on that note, let's get into the film. You
Yeah.
gonna take it away?
Yeah, so on that note, like we the film we are gonna discuss about today is Tumbbad. It's directed by Rahi Anil Varve and produced by Soham Shah, who is also the lead actor here. And I chose this film because this was the first Indian horror film that kind of like blew me off. Like I was like, wow, this is so good. Like I went to watch in a theater and it was so beautifully crafted and the storytelling was so beautiful, the metaphors and everything about it was so good. And then after watching it, I learned that it's literally a like a labor of love. It's in its whole form. It took like 18 years to conceive this film, but to produce this film. But like the production itself went on for 6 years and 3 years of post production. It's a like very small team that did it, and it's a pure. For me, it's a pure art, like how you do it, like, and it's beautiful. This film is beautiful.
You saw this in theaters?
Yeah.
So, and do you want to say how? So it came out in 2018,
Yeah.
and and you told me it just got re-released in theaters too, right?
Yeah. So what happened was it was released on theater, and then like it had no big names, right? No big director. So the director was not that big that time. It's not like no big actor is there. So it's not very typical Bollywood formula. And it's the director refuses to say that it's a Bollywood film. He says like it's an Indian film, Indian horror film. Okay. So it didn't create a huge uproar at the beginning, but it was like a slow burn. Like, like gradually people started liking it. It was word of mouth. They didn't do a huge good marketing when it released. So it was word of mouth, and then it kind of stayed a long time in theater, and the makers didn't expect it to be that long. It went on for like 7 weeks, which they didn't expect, and the film theaters pulled this film off because the film by that time already came to Amazon Prime. So that's why they had to pull it off from the theater. But it was doing decent. I mean, it's not a huge blockbuster hit, but it did decent performance for like a not so known actors, not so like known names in being in the film. So yeah, that's what it. And then later, the people was watching. I mean, it got a huge appreciation from the people all around India when it was running on Amazon Prime, and people realized that this is a film made for theater. It should be watched in theater. Like the world building is so beautiful, and then
the
that's
cinematography is really
cinematography is so beautiful, production design, everything, and the shots, oh my god. Anyway, so they were like asking for it to be released in theater again, which is a very rare thing in India, to be a film to be re-released, and film of this kind of stature to be re-released. It's a very rare thing, but they did it, and they earned more money than the first time,
Despite it already being on Amazon.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's
actually,
people like to be in
impressive.
theaters.
so actually it showed that people who watched it on Amazon, mostly they went to watch it in theater because they wanted to have the theater experience with this film. So that's
I would see this in theaters.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
It's
So
it's such a
beautiful.
beautiful yeah. It's,
It is for the audience. It's kind of like an A24 Indian horror film. Like it's kind of slow burn. It's a little methodical. The cinematography is amazing. It's like natural lighting, very kind of like
yeah,
naturalistic, but like
very grounded lighting.
It's very
yeah.
grounded.
yeah.
Yeah, one thing I know that most of the rains I guess are like real, and they actually waited for like cloudy days after days to have those outdoor shots to have like real cloud, not VFX. So they did. I mean, in terms of time, they used a lot of time, and I mean, they of course put a lot of money in the making of it. So
Yeah, and a
it's
lot of really
beautiful.
good like physical costumes and props, and like there is some CG, but the prosthetic work is amazing. Like I haven't seen prosthetic work like that in a really long time, and it's super fun to see. So it has like this texture to it that you just don't see often.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the body horror in this movie really stuck out to me. Like it just the shot of like I'll skip to it, like the final shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty. It really stayed with me until after it ended.
Yeah,
Basically.
like I'm not a very big cinema person, to be honest. Like I watch movies for the storyline and the plot, but even this movie really made me appreciate the cinematography. Like when he's in the womb and it's all red around, like it's just so beautiful that even a like average person can appreciate it.
Yeah, I will say we who watched it with us were two people who English wasn't their first language, nor was Hindi, and they were completely involved with it and enthralled with it too. And like you could watch it on a visual level just by itself and enjoy it, which was nice. So Nikki, how does the movie start with the Linkin Park intro?
So, they start off with like this mythical tale, like folklore tale. I don't know. Like there's like a goddess of prosperity, I believe, and then like she gave birth to like multiple gods, but then they explained that the firstborn god was the one that was most loved, but he was full of greed, and apparently so the story goes is that he tries to steal her infinite wealth. She has infinite wealth and infinite food, right? And then he tried to steal the wealth, and all the gods tried to kill him, but the goddess loved him, right? And protected him, and in order for him to just survive or be alive, basically, she would keep him in his womb, and that nobody should ever worship him. Basically, he would be forgotten.
Yeah.
But then you have this little town of Tumbbad, right? That they erected like a shrine, and because of that town is cursed forever, which is why you can see in the movie there's quite a lot of rain.
It rains always.
It rains a lot. And so right from the get-go, we get that this movie is like, well, I mean, it'll become apparent is that it's a cycle of greed. That is the thing. But and the god, this greedy god, his name is Hastar, right? So is Hastar real or
Okay, so no, the lore here is completely fabricated.
It's
It's
just
not
fabricated.
going folklore, and I think it's a Lovecraftian character, Hastar, something like that. I read long back. I kind of forgot. I think there is a reference, it's an adaptation of some Lovecraftian character, like like supernatural character, and to this as a Hastar. It's not a real thing, really real folklore. It's built for this story. Oh yeah, so he stole the wealth, but when he tried to steal all the food, then the gods attacked him. So that's why he's like kind of afraid of food. And he's perpetually hungry.
Right.
He has the wealth, but he's perpetually hungry, which is
Right.
like a nice metaphor to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Greed. I mean, greed. Yeah.
Greed,
Yeah.
it is. So yeah, and in this part of Tumbbad, there's like a mansion, a decrepit mansion, and you have this like family, like you have this woman and her two sons, and I think this woman, she's apparently like the mistress to this dying rich lord, His name is Sarkar.
So Sarkar is not his name. Sarkar is a kind of a title you
Right.
get when like you own. It's like a landlordish title. Yeah, they play the word later as a Bharat Sarkar, as an Indian government. So okay, yeah.
So
carry
this
on.
lord was
Yeah.
on his deathbed, and then
Well, let's say what he's doing on his deathbed.
she was jerking him off on his deathbed.
Yeah, so there's like a maid. The first shot that's not in Linkin Park CGI territory is this maid, this bald maid, right? Jerking the old Sarkar off.
Also
She's
the
not
mother
maid.
of the,
She's
the
like,
main
I
character.
think his
What is she?
Mistress.
She's a
Mistress.
mistress.
Yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
mentioned that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she was jerking him off, and clearly she's just doing it because she wants that the
one gold.
the one gold coin, like the mythical treasure of Hastar, basically. So then, that is the point of the whole movie, is like this, you have this family that is in search of this long lost treasure, and they need to find out what it is. And we are introduced to also like what Hastar is capable of, in the sense that there is like, so like this woman, I forgot her name, but like she was also the caretaker of this elderly woman. And that's where like, this is where like the body horror shines. Like she's like this grotesque looking woman, and it's because she is cursed with Hastar's curse.
She's touched by Hastar.
Touched by Hastar. So in this story is like, if Hastar touches you, you become immortal, but then you're transformed into this grotesque abomination, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're
And
cursed
you'll
for
be-
life.
And then you have only two job in life. You eternally hungry for food, and you just sleep. So there are two things you do.
Yeah.
You cannot do anything else.
And throughout the movie, we learn that like to put these cursed people to sleep, you have to say like, go to sleep, or Hastar
Will come.
for
Yeah.
you.
So ja varna Hastar aa jayega. Yeah. So
That's
go
it.
to sleep. Otherwise, Hastar
Yeah.
will come.
And this woman is also the grandma of the main character, or like the mother of the Lord who is
mother of
on
the
his
Lord.
deathbed.
Yeah.
But
That
you see,
makes
the
sense.
grandmother has already suffered. She must have been greedy, and that's why she's like immortally cursed. And then the father is still looking, and his mistress seems to see the downside of this. So like she's
Yeah.
a little bit more level-headed. She just wants one coin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then his sons.
She just wants freedom with one coin.
Yeah.
That she goes out of this cursed village with that one gold coin and make a life for her. And yeah, so
She doesn't have the genetics, but the kid does, so he has that greed built in.
yeah.
Built-in, yeah. So those are the characters, but they're not the main characters. The main character is that woman's son,
Vinayak.
Vinayak, yes,
Yeah.
Vinayak. So the movie is told in like 3 parts. It's generational. So one is like when he's a kid, second when he's an adult, third when he bore a child, his son. But then like, it starts off with him as a kid, and it just starts to show how, he's willing to do whatever it takes to get that gold, to get that lost treasure.
Yeah.
And then one thing is that when we were revealed with the grotesque grandma, what was she going to do? Like, how we get to see her like
She was trying to eat him up.
eat him, right?
Yeah.
She was like taking off nails off her face.
Yeah.
Which is
so-
amazing. I thought that was like so creepy. It was just
Yeah.
like, and the movie did like a really good job with how like, how when he opens the door and then we get to see her in all her sick glory.
Yeah.
And then like he has to quickly run back to get like, I think it was food or something. But then like you get that sense of dread that, she's probably like after him, and then you get this moment where she gets behind him.
Yeah.
That is, I cannot stress how masterful that whole shot is. It's like, but that's what I like about this movie. It's like there's a sense of dread, and I think it's been said before, like every shot you feel so uncomfortable. You don't feel at ease at any moment, which is why it's you're so invested in what's happening.
Yeah, and to speak on that, before we get past that, remember the scene where the kid falls over the ledge?
His
Yeah,
younger
the
brother.
younger brother and
Yeah.
dies. Yeah.
So, like, the kid falls over and stuff, and it's just because it's, like, really good sound design, but you don't see anything. You see the kid fall off, and then you just see the wall, and then it cuts to him with his head hit.
Mm-hmm.
But the sound design, you hear the fall and the crack and everything, but you don't see anything. And it's incredibly well done, and, like, you don't need to see it. Like, your imagination makes it way worse, and you just see the dead body afterwards.
Yeah.
But it's really simple. It didn't cost anything. There's no stunts. It's just sound and like staring at a wall, but they did a really good job with it.
And just for context also, so right before he falls, he's asking his older brother whether it's a curse to even talk about the treasure, right? Because his older brother's asking his mom about the treasure. And the younger brother is like, isn't it cursed just to like bring it up? And then 2 seconds later, he falls to his own death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like you know, I think there was also another moment where the mom was taking him to the hospital or something, but then like I think she wanted to make a detour or something, was it?
I think she realized on the way, because it's a
like,
very like remote village and the hospital would be super far. I think on the way she realized that the younger son's body is not responding anymore, so she's just let's go back.
The driver pretty much asked, you still want to go to the hospital or should I take you to the graveyard?
Right.
Yeah.
I kind of took that as a scene where everyone is just so greedy and they're more fixated on getting this treasure.
No, I think the woman just wanted to go back and get her other kid and just...
Because before he died, she was already packing up and getting ready to leave Tumbbad. Like, she just wanted to get out of there.
Yeah. So yeah, his Vinayak's brother, you know, fell off a tree. He's dead. The mom takes him away, hoping to, you know, heal him up. So that leaves Vinayak with the grandmother, and then the grandmother tries to eat him, basically. And
As grandmas do.
As grandmas do.
Why didn't you eat anything? Here, have my toe.
Yeah, and then he manages to chant her that phrase that puts her to sleep, and then the mom comes to his rescue, and then she warns him that, you know, we should never come back. It's not worth it. But then you get his resolve is that he will come back, and he did. And we fast forward to the...
I think after the the mother made him promise on his, like, it's like a, how do I put it? Like, promise on me. Like, the mother said, promise on me that you would never come back to Tumbbad. Yeah. I think so. That's why after his mother passes away, then only he comes back to Tumbbad as an adult person.
Yeah, because we never see the mom again in the second chapter, third chapter. She just never comes out.
Yeah. So after the mother passes away, so then he's like, okay, then I can come.
So he comes back and looking all beardy, bushy.
Yeah. 15 years has passed, but he looks well. Like it's been like 40 years.
He's got a good mustache. Really good, strong mustache.
Strong mustache. And then he finds the decrepit old lady.
I think it's the vegetarian food.
Oh yeah, what did you say about these people?
Yeah, why do they age faster? Because they eat no protein?
Yeah.
Is that it?
What is the deal?
So if you don't eat enough protein, your skin won't glow.
So the meat makes your skin glow? Is that what you keep?
Sorry to all the vegans
good
listening
protein
to this.
makes your skin nicer.
Yeah. If you eat meat, you have a pregnant glow about you because you have like another species inside of you. But if you don't eat, you just don't have that glow. Your skin sucks.
You're just eating like plants, and then like you look like plants.
So is this guy like? Well, who are these people you're referring to?
Oh no, no. I'm just talking about the characters, not the actors.
So they're what? Are they Guju? Where are they from? That makes them vegetarian.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, I think the actor is Gujarati, yeah. But the characters are like Brahmins, like Maharashtrian Brahmins. So of course they don't eat. I don't think they eat like meat.
Yeah, and their skin looks like shit because of it.
Yeah,
I eat raw liver every day and I look amazing.
So he goes back and he meets the decrepit old lady, and she's like, I don't know if you've seen Mad Max Furiosa.
Oh yeah.
There was like a tree coming out of her, which is the same fate that Chris Hemsworth's character goes through.
That's exactly what it's like.
That was like literally the only thing I was thinking of. But yeah, she's
a tree.
She's a tree, and then she tells him where it's located, and this is where we learn that there's a womb underneath this decrepit mansion. It's like a well, but like when you go down, it's like the womb of the goddess of prosperity. That's where Hastar lies. And basically what entails is that Vinayak would go to this womb, right? And he would bring out like gingerbread men, doughboys. Doughboys.
Bunch of gingerbread men.
That's because Hastar is always hungry, like Keely mentioned.
So why does it have to be a boy though, or like a doll?
That's never mentioned. I think that's
because they keep making
tradition
dough
in a human shape.
Yeah, in a human shape.
Is
that normal?
Is it normal for what, Hastar?
I don't know. Is it normal for people to make dough that's shaped like humans?
So I've seen some like I think it gives a bit eerie feeling. It's also metaphorical of like greed itself chewing up humans.
Yeah.
Maybe I think it's kind of that, but it's never explained in a folklore way. Like
Just done like a football. Or
yeah,
like
it
his
can be.
favorite
It could
team.
be. It could be anything. It's just the. It's just. I mean, story wise, it's just a dough,
Yeah,
but
okay.
it made like a ginger. No, not ginger. Like doughboy.
Like a
yeah.
doughboy, yeah. And he draws a circle around, right?
Draw a
Yeah.
circle
what?
around that.
I think that
Like
has
with the
some mantras, like something like that, like some yeah. So that stops Hastar crossing that boundary. Like it's a 3D. He makes it like a 3D
Sphere dome.
sphere of dome.
I
Like,
think it's in a lot of these kinds of fiction where you like ward off ghosts by drawing a circle.
yeah, it's a very,
It's just
it's
a
a very.
very
These are very
common-
Indian elements.
Right.
In I think like Asian elements, like like you draw, of course, like you have you chant or you use the chant and you draw a boundary and the ghost cannot enter. So this is a very
Which is like, what the? Because we do that too in like the American movies, but like, what's stopping the fucking ghost? Like they can't. They can do everything except go across chalk. It's like ants.
yeah. It's kind of like that.
But like they're ghosts. Like they don't touch things. They pass through.
No, also
everything.
they're not ghosts. He's like a god, right? So maybe it's like so how they
Make
call
the
the
whole room out of the
gods?
white chalk. Cover your body with the white chalk.
Then
He should have
no.
done a PK where he just slaps like stickers of white chalk on his cheek, and then the guy can't get him.
Yeah,
No.
interesting,
I'm
right?
going back to that well. I've covered myself in chalk.
Yep.
I cracked it, but then I look like a doughboy.
Is there any part of the film where they tell us how old Hastar is? He's a ghost. I don't know if he has an
Forever, since
age.
he's
Forever.
Right,
Since the
right.
no, since the beginning
But
of
like,
the world.
but when we see later on in the film, when we see the main character interact with Hastar, we see kind of a juvenile side come out, right? Like, and that's why he's playing with that doughboy as well. It's almost like fetch. where he's,
Yeah,
like,
my
running
action
away.
figure Hastar has like a little
It's like a
doughboy
little
attached.
child.
Yeah,
yeah.
Hastar is kind of a dumb ghost, like dumb, not ghost, dumb
Well, he's just
god.
greed incarnate. He just has he has one
he's
mind.
just greed,
He's like
yeah.
he's like a wind up doll where like he just has one thing, which is just feed.
Yeah,
He's
that's
a
what-
rejected Mortal Kombat character.
He would actually make a pretty good character.
Post fatality.
His fatality turns people into dough and eats them.
He just leaves a trail of gold coins when he fights and shit. So he does. So he shits out gold coins,
It's like he has this loincloth that
Yeah.
holds coins, like infinite coins.
but it comes out of his ass, right?
I mean, loincloth is it's on
But
your
the back of it,
It's like a back pocket.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
back pocket.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that's the
oh,
whole
an asshole.
that's the whole thing about this movie is that Vinaya goes to distract Hastar with the Doughboys, and then like he would
Yeah, you're right.
Doughboys, and then
right.
he would go like
Doughboy army.
Hastar in true boss-like fashion would turn around distracted, and then he would just like steal bits of gold coin piece by piece, and that's what you see throughout the movie. It's like he'll steal bits of gold, goes back to his hometown.
Well, yeah, hold on. So he gets the coins, but he has to be careful because if Hastar stops eating
yeah,
or he's finished, he'll come and touch the guy, and
Touch
the
the
guy
guy.
like becomes a tree himself.
he cannot be touched
Because every time he's going out the well, you see that scene where he's like climbing up and Hastar is climbing right after him.
Yeah.
So he's like escaping by a split second.
yeah, every
Every time.
time.
Yeah,
So
he
every
gets
time.
dropped down with like a rope and has to like climb himself.
Yeah.
Like climb.
I like that metaphor of like like of eternal life when you are touched by greed, but all you can do is like but you are like always hungry, and then like you have like just one mind.
yeah.
Yeah,
To
you
it.
lack
Like it's
contentment.
it's like you get the gold and everything, but it's like when you are touched by the greed incarnation itself, like you're done for.
It's the opposite of Nirvana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that's the whole movie. I mean, like he just accrues wealth through these gold coins.
Yeah, and it's kind of like There Will Be Blood, Indian
Yeah.
Indian folktale style, where like it's about going into the ground and there's money in the ground, and he like becomes cold and alienated because that's what wealth makes you do, and he just becomes
Yeah.
fixated on this thing, and it consumes his life, and he becomes anti-human as he tries to accrue more and more wealth, and it just sticks with him. But I did get There Will Be Blood vibes too, just with the claustrophobic setting and like the guy just having like a real one track mind on just like accumulating wealth and everyone else be damned and shit. It was very similar, just with like mythical vibes, which is pretty cool.
I did like the whole like, you know, it's never enough for him. It's like throughout the whole movie you see Vinayak just being so like not satisfied. Like he's just very like nonchalant about it. Like he just keeps on going back.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the cycle. I guess maybe it's a bit too on the nose, but that's the cycle.
It's not subtle. Again, it's still an Indian
subtle.
movie, so there's no subtlety.
And he has so much coins. Like, like at one point he reveals it to his son, right? And then like it's like he already has so much coin, but he still needs more.
And you guys made a good point too, because even with all his wealth, he's not doing much with it.
No.
Yeah, he's just hoarding it.
Yeah, which is again like what like I don't know, capitalism or greed or whatever does. It's like you're just hoarding it. There's no other purpose except to accumulate more.
I mean, the makers, the writers and makers made a good point that like they kind of paralleled it with the India itself. Like the first part is like very feudal India, like where you have the old wealth and then like you just have slaves and stuff like that. And then there is like the aspiration of a slave of like just get something and leave this horror place. And then you have towards the end you have like an independent India, which is like a proto-capitalist society which is like paralleled with Vinayak's like hoarding of all the golds like for himself, and then like get as much as you can towards the end.
Yeah, so this was the interesting part, because when India, so in 1947 when India gets independence, they tell him like, hey, we're taking the house from you. Like, we're taking your source of wealth, right? Like, which, you know, you could hint at like it being like nationalism or someone, you know, taking, you know, land away that before just wasn't even documented. It's just ancestrally you inherited and everyone just knows it, right? So they are removing that lineage and inserting like bureaucracy and laws, and because of that he has to go in and grab as much as he can because it's going to get taken away from him, right? And you can't have like if your caste or your position is taken away, you have nothing else. He cannot make anything. He's not like a worker. He has not contributed anything. He's a fucking parasite, and so he has to do the last big money grab before it's all taken away from him, which is just your ancestry. It's nothing you did.
Yeah.
And then there's this other character, right? There's Raghav.
Yeah.
So who is he? He's like a money lender kind of.
So I think he was buying the gold and giving him money.
Right.
So he was like kind of like, of course, like if you keep on selling gold, like they're gonna like, where is the gold coming from? He's definitely that there is a treasure or something.
Well, it seems like initially the main character Vinaya is like borrowing money from him. He seems to be like the loan shark of the village, right? And then at some point, Vinaya accumulates so much gold and wealth that the loan shark has to start coming to him for money. And he is kind of so curious about how Vinayak is getting all this money, and he makes a joke about this treasure in Tumbbad. Then he realizes it might be true, so he sets him up and tries to go. You know, talk about that scene, Nikki, where like he brings a lady to his house.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Vinayak's greed knows no bounds, right? I think that's another aspect, right? So basically, like Raghav brings this like young woman. And then they pretend it's like Vinayak has a wife, right? And then they tell his wife that like she's the maid. And I think that the woman was there to tempt Vinayak. And then again, you know, Vinayak's greed knows no bounds. He tries to have his way with her, but then he finds out that like she was just a distraction for Raghav to go to Tumbbad and figure out where Vinayak was getting all these gold coins. And then you have this like interesting, clever scene where Vinayak would he's aware, right, that Raghav is watching him, so he sets him up by going into the womb, and Raghav has no idea. And this is we the audience, we learn how things work here, throwing the doughboys. We get to see like Hastar for the first time.
It's actually the origin story of how Auntie Anne's got their business dominance, as they kept making pretzels and feeding it to this dude.
In a way, the scene also is representative of Vinayak sacrificing Raghav, because he knows exactly what's going to happen to Raghav if he enters the womb, but he still lures him in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he
The-
meets Hastar.
Cold-heartedness of Mr. Vinayak Rao.
So then it cuts to the son.
Yeah.
So yeah, like
Which is the most
I
interesting-
remember later he says, oh, this was a old, like when later on the kid comes back to the womb
Yeah.
and then he says like, oh, this was an old friend.
Old friend.
Old friend. Like he mentions
I killed.
Raghav as friend
Brushed
after
it
doing
off.
like after setting him up for Hastar and everything.
This
It's
employee was
like-
my best friend.
Yeah.
He loved me.
But he does a favor to him. He burns him up so that he dies.
Oh, and
like,
this is the second person he's burning. I think we glazed over that, but he also burns his grandma.
but
right,
grandma
with
asked for
the
it.
tree. Yeah,
Grandma
so
is like,
That's
that's
just-
the only way that I guess you get to kill a soul that has
Yeah.
been immortalized because of Hastar. You have to burn them.
Grandma
Yeah.
was like, "You're not fat enough. You're too skinny, and you don't have a wife. Just kill me now. You're such a failure."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So in his defense, he's burning out of mercy for these
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
He's a nice guy, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then, yeah, I mean, we fast forward, right? Okay, so Vinayak is getting all this wealth, and then he gives birth to this turd of a son that is like, he's trying to live up to his father's footsteps. He sets up like a training ground on how to like pickpocket.
That is so cool. I fell in love with that. They
that was
they
a
have
great
like a
scene.
training scenario where the
That-
kid practices over and over again how to get the coins and
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
which is super rad because he's just devoting this kid to like stealing wealth.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like Vinayak is playing that disappointed dad. Like, he's never
Yeah,
gonna...
you're not good enough.
Not good enough. He's not
Yeah, and he
gonna-
tells the kid, "You're gonna die in there."
Yeah. And I side with Vinayak. That boy is just
Doomed.
useless.
I mean, he's always trying to one up his father.
father.
So he wants to be a.
Big man.
I remember. Okay, for that, like, I want to talk about one small shot that was like when a newborn kid was like the kid was born, like the newborn baby. They touched the gold coin with the
Yeah.
honey with his on his lips. It's
Yes.
like it's like a Indian tradition of like like putting honey to when you were born and when you were dead. So it's like the with the gold coin, it's like you are destined to get all those gold coins. Like that's your life now from now on. That's like your path.
It's destiny. It's
your destiny.
It ties
Yeah.
back to like ancestral destiny and
Yeah.
like stuck in this system that you have no say in and can't get
Yeah.
out of or anything. It's just fixed for you.
Yeah.
So anyway, so the kid is practicing.
The kid is practicing, and like, he was ready to go, right? I think there's a lot to unpack in the scene. Let me think. It's like what prompted him to go again? Like the boy was ready, but like how did
Because
the-
they found out that the government is going to take over
No,
the
no, no,
property
no, no,
soon,
no.
right?
That's the last one.
That was the
He
last
prompted him to
part.
go bring his he got older and then he was coming back. So we see that he's coming back from Tumbbad without any coins. That means like he's not fit anymore to get more coins. He has hoarded enough wealth, but his greed is not unstoppable. So he takes his underage kids, who is like a little kid, to get the coins.
And then tells him in the car on the way to Tumbbad, I think
Yeah.
I'm going to be the only one who comes back.
Yeah,
But
that's
Great parenting.
That's great.
But his son is like you know those kinds of like kid characters that are so useless. You just get like frustrated at them. It's like
He was not useless. He was like,
I mean, like,
he was adamant. He was
He was
like,
just trying to impress his dad.
He reminds me of Dave D's when he was a kid, right? Like,
Yeah.
you remember
I
Dave
remember
D?
in the beginning.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
in
He
the
reminds me
beginning.
of that kid. Like, like he's like, oh, fuck you, daddy. Like,
Same.
he wants dad's recognition, but he also wants to one up on him.
But like
Yeah.
it was like the thing that made me feel frustrated is because like when Vinayak took his son to Tumbbad,
Tumbbad.
Tumbbad, yeah. To Tumbbad, he was like he was telling his kid that like it's just training. Don't
Yeah.
bring the doughboy down there.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, what? You mean this doughboy? And then, like, he
Inside,
just
while
like-
being inside.
What an
Yeah.
idiot! Like I just was like, oh my
Did
god.
he bring multiple doughboys?
No,
He
that's the
brought only
last
one.
That was the
Yeah,
one,
that was-
but I know that came a little later.
Yeah, but the dad just wanted to show him what the womb looks like. He didn't intend on calling out Hastar. They were not
Yeah.
prepared to meet Hastar that time.
Okay, so that was one thing that annoyed me, and then the second thing is that this boy, right, because his influential father of a figure He's like so they keep the young lady that was distracting Vinayak.
Yeah.
So she was
has
Vinayak's
been
mistress.
his concubine forever.
His concubine forever. And so he's spending a lot of time with this woman more than his actual wife. And I guess, that sets an example for his son, right? His son, we get this scene where his son was like, my dad's not going to be around anymore. And when I become the man of the house, I'm gonna buy you. And
no, I'm gonna marry you.
I'm gonna marry
he
you.
He says like, your dad has never, my dad has never married you, has kept you as a concubine or a mistress. But when I grow up, I'll marry you. He's like always like trying to trump his dad.
I'll be
like,
much more loyal person than my dad.
And I'll be like, I'll have more coins. And then he gives. So when he comes back from Tumbbad, he was supposed to tell the story to his mother, right? And he refuses to tell her. He says like, oh, that's between me and my dad. You don't have to know. And we see this frustration on his mother's eyes, right? That, oh my God, my son has grown up and now he's also leaving me. She lost him too. And he gives her that gold plated, gold wrapped chocolate to his mother, and gives the actual gold to his father's mistress, and tells her that he gonna marry her when he grows up. He tells the kid's character so well that that was like number 3.
Right. But after that scene, when he gives the gold coin to the mistress, what ensues is a violent child beating.
He deserved.
Like slightly uncomfortable.
I was like, this is so uncomfortable to watch, but this boy needs an ass whooping. Like he definitely needs it.
So his dad like literally beats him up nonstop. And then takes him to a brothel.
Yeah, because he says like, okay, yeah, like you cannot keep it in your pants. Like he's like, I will marry you off when you are 16, and the kid like just nonchalantly asks like, what until then? What do I do until then? Which was like, oh my God, and the father takes him to a brothel. But next thing, that was amazing.
I think, like jokes aside, I think that was also the pivotal point, the climax, because in that scene we learned that he was telling the boy was telling Vinayak that like, you always bring out just one doughboy, but how about bringing multiple doughboys to keep him distracted?
No,
they want to steal the entire loincloth.
Was it this scene or was it after like when they have to go for the last time?
When he was getting that ass whooping, he mentioned it. But right. I think that was a very important scene because that is literally the point where it's like the undoing of it all. Like and then like, Vinayak at first goes with the plan, but what they didn't anticipate was that they didn't bring they thought that bringing the multiple doughboys would like distract Hastar even further so that they could steal the entire loincloth. But what they didn't expect, and I guess this is the part where it comes into like this crescendo of like WTF moments, is that it just spawns a lot of Hastars. There's a lot of Hastars.
They come like pouring in like aliens, like in the movie Aliens, where they just all start coming out of the woodwork. So there's not just one Hastar, there's like a bunch.
That's a beautiful scene, like just a bunch of Hastars crawling all over the womb. It's just pure red.
And I think that scene, one of the things I didn't expect in that scene, so they're screwed, right?
Yeah.
But then I guess his dad did like a very like, I wouldn't say selfless, but like
sacrificed. He sacrificed.
I actually did not see that coming. I actually thought he was gonna throw his kid. Take
this big doughboy.
Take this, and I'm gonna get all this gold. Like you can have my son.
I'll have another son. I'll have another one. That's fine.
You get this like very like penultimate scene where he's just kind of like sacrificing himself just so his son could escape.
So what he's done is he stuck all the doughboys they brought on his own body, and he's ready to step out of that circle.
Yeah.
And the kid starts crying that time, don't do it, father, don't do it, don't do it. And I think that's the realization point for both of them, like what greed has brought upon them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the characters realizing, and then the character change moment, like the character defining moment that becomes like towards the end.
They learn that you cannot outsmart greed. Like you can't be clever and beat it. Like it's a sickness that will just go on forever. So you're not going to trick it and get a bunch of magic coins and not risk anything. Like it's just not how it works. You can't like outrun the greed parasite.
And that was such a beautiful moment as well, because I think we watch a lot of horror films, and for the most part, you can kind of predict what's gonna happen in the end, right? But I
Yeah.
think we agreed while watching that none of us saw this coming. We did not expect to see like 20 Hastars just show up out of nowhere.
It's a good
Yeah.
finale because
Yeah.
it doesn't. A lot of the like, I think in America recently, with most movies and horror too, there has to be some huge climax that makes it like on a huge grand scale. This one like was able to up the ante, but in the same setting. There's just more of them, and it's still just between a father and a son. So like, there's a lot of tension and a lot of like relationship drama going on at the same time. It's not just spectacle. So they did a good job like making the stakes higher without like us as the audience like losing touch with what's going on. I think.
Yeah, one thing like this scene that apparently that scene was lit up with only one like oil lamp. That the last final scene with the womb, and the whole womb is actual a set. It's
That's
not
cool.
VFX.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean there are of course VFX involved,
a
but
real womb.
that's a set.
Yeah.
That's not like a full green screen, and they lit
Yeah.
it up with only one oil lamp,
Yeah, it's cool.
and to make that like eerie effect, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
There are just so many shots. Like it's just like a I don't know how do you call it, like a juxtaposition of like beautiful, ugly, beautiful.
Yeah.
I would say
Yeah.
like
Yeah, there's like a huge wealth of like folklore to mine from. Even if like you're making it up, like there's such a like a rich tapestry in India to pull from when you're doing these folk tales and stuff that I'm really glad that this is opening up. I want to see more of this because it's you know you like I said, you learn a lot, and you could tell it's like a labor of love. Like they're you know, kind of going through what their own deal with, you know, caste system is and stuff like that. And it's nice to watch.
So that end scene, the father sacrifices himself.
Yeah.
The son
Touched
comes
by
out of the
Hastar.
well.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
ultimately touched by
Yeah,
Hastar.
he's touched by Hastar. And so when the kid sees his father,
what has become of him
Right.
basically is a very haunting scene, in my opinion. Like, just looking at his father, like, don't you want this? Isn't this what you want? It's like
Yeah.
a moment where like, isn't this what you want?
and
Like,
the
he
father
got the
hands him
gold.
the
He got the
loincloth.
gold, all the gold
Right.
from-
And
from
he
the-
tries to hand his son the loincloth. And
Is-
what happens?
He just burned. He was
Yeah,
burned.
no, I mean,
Well,
he knows.
yeah.
I mean, the son like
Said
I think
no.
the son understood from like what his father did from the burnt body
Right.
in the womb. That's the way to like because he learned that if the Hastar touches that it would be
Yeah.
you'll be immortal and like that, like a zombie.
But the son rejects the loincloth that his
Yeah.
father hands him, which I think is kind of also very symbolic because it's kind of showing that he's breaking the generational curse of
Yeah.
greed, right? He doesn't
Trying
take the
to.
loincloth. He's trying to. So he
Or
rejects
did
it
he?
and then burns
Or did
his father.
he?
Or did he?
Or he
Or
just got
maybe-
really excited about
or
burning his
maybe-
father
or
and forgot
maybe-
about the loincloth.
He probably
Maybe
like
someone knows.
closed the door and he said, "No, I need to marry that woman," and then opens the door and then goes
And
back.
in the sequel, he has a very well-adjusted life. He lives in the suburbs. His kid is going to international school and he's a DJ.
Oh my god! did he time travel from
No, he's a
1947?
dad. No, when he grows up now, this kid.
No. If he's like, let's say
late
14,
bloomer.
14
He's
in
in Oxford High
1947, he would be like. he
The
would be
DJ, the kid is 40. He's a 4-year-old DJ. I didn't say what age the kid was.
Well, he's
So he's going to be looking 70.
Hold on. Wait, actually, Kelly, this doesn't make any sense. Because no matter when this movie, even though it was released in 2018, took place in the past. If they did a fucking sequel, it doesn't have to take place in present day.
It can. It can.
It
Actually.
can, but it doesn't have to be. So it could just be him living as an adult with a kid.
Yeah.
Okay,
That would be
so-
an 80s.
Right.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's what it would take place then. It's an 80s movie where
Yeah.
he lives in a nice suburban house and his kid's a DJ, but like vinyl because it's the 80s. Is that better?
Yeah.
It's probably going to be the case where this kid, he's no longer part of the generational curse. He's rejected the loincloth, but then his son finds out about it and tries to go back to Tumbbad.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
going to
like,
place my
he
bet.
becomes like a middle manager at some, you know,
I would
like
really
bank, and the
appreciate.
son hates
I would
it.
really appreciate if it's a different family.
No, it's a
Let some-
generational
let-
curse movie, right? I feel like it
let
has
someone
That's
has the taste of gold.
You heard it here, folks. Tumbbad 2, Electric Tumbbadoo.
It's just a bunch of doughboys dancing around. Hastar was like a little
we
pet
want
that they
that
have.
dance scene with Hastar
He's like a little
in the
sidekick
womb.
that like goes around with them, and like as the dad's like a middle manager and is kind of unhappy with his life. It's like American Beauty, except Hastar is just kind of tagging along and kind of giving advice and stuff, like Alf or whatever.
You know, after the existence of Joker for I Do, I'm inclined to believe that this is possible.
So they are doing a sequel, right?
They are doing a sequel.
What are your thoughts? Will it be? It's not the same director.
It's not the same director. So the director, it's the same production house.
Same actor.
So I think the director faced so many rejection while making the film. Like that's why it's 18 years, right? So it's like he started making it.
Dude, I've
it
never
got shut
done
down
anything
many
for like
times.
18 years. I've never had. Have you ever been passionate?
I think
about
from the time of the first draft he wrote, I think, and towards the end, I think what he said in an interview that he wrote like 50 to 70 draft of this film.
I mean, but that just goes to show you, though. I mean, like, I can barely do anything past a year. 18 years of sticking to something and like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing.
That's
that
why
they
it's a
finished
labor
it.
of
He
love.
said like,
Yeah.
okay, and then I remember in one interview, so Soham Shah, the actor and producer, like he and the director sitting next to each other, like in an interview or talk show, something like that. And then he's like, oh, then you met Soham Shah, otherwise it wouldn't have happened. He's like, yeah, like not happen now, but it will definitely happen because I wouldn't have stopped try to make it. So it was his thing.
But
Like
that's crazy
it's
that
like
it's
he
not-
was fixated. Like
Yes.
Vinayak, how he's trying for the goal.
Hey, there
He
we
was
go.
Very
fixated
good
on
analogy.
making
Comes full
this
circle.
film, bringing this film on screen. I mean, and he's a visionary. I mean, his visions are really good. I have to yet to watch his later works. I think he's out of the this film right now, and it's more of they're gonna do the I think what he wanted to do was a.
Do you want to set it in Hawaii or something?
Yeah, in Hawaii, in Africa, I think most probably. No, what he wanted to do is a thematic sequel, and now they are doing like a more closed direct
They
sequel.
fucked it. He's right. Yeah.
I mean, I still have because they're a really good creative team. I mean, it's more apart from the director, everyone else is still there, and then I mean the guy who co-directed it is a director of this new film. And they're all like looked kind of okay. The how we call it, like sure of themselves that it's gonna be a nice film.
It's gonna be like Gremlins 2. There's a bunch of different gods now.
To be honest, I don't think that would be cheesy because the next film would be very cheesy because their take on this film, like some of the thumb rules was
I
that.
think you mean rule of thumb.
Rule of thumbs was
Yeah.
like that it has to be very grounded. It cannot the god will not itself have any supernatural powers itself. They will be just that violent thing and the curse thing. That's it. They will not be like, reading your minds, doing unnatural, like supernatural
Being
stuff.
Jawan.
Yeah, they did not have that, and
Hastar's like a mustache. He's like, "I'm
they
your dad
always
now."
wanted to make a very grounded film with this one. So I think the vision will continue in the next film, and they will keep
Sure.
doing that. And yeah, let's see. Like I really want it to be released in Thailand so that I can go and watch in the
Yeah,
theater.
we'll watch it together. We'll do a live podcast from the theater on opening night. So we'll do a live commentary track with everyone else in the theater.
While they
You'll get a
throw
live
throw
reaction
things at
from
us.
It'll last only like 20 minutes before we get kicked out.
the previews. I think you nailed it though. It's like an obsessive guy made a movie about obsession, and that's why it works so well. Like he's speaking from what he knows,
Yeah.
and like borrowing from like the world he grew up in. And I think it works really well. I think that's the best type of movie. Thank you
Yeah.
for recommending this.
I do wonder if there was anything behind them showing that transition between like British India and then independence, because chapter 2 I
yes.
think takes place in 1947, really like when partition
Chapter
happened.
3. Chapter 3 when the kids
Chapter 3,
growing up. Yeah.
in 1947. So like I don't know, it doesn't really tie into the movie that much. It does a little bit with Raghav because he's trying to gain more wealth and he has a short amount of time, and that's why he gets desperate and tries to find the treasure, but he fails. But beyond that, like what do you guys think was the rationale behind this?
I will speak on this. Allow me as the completely non-Indian to speak on this about Indian history. No, it's because even the independence didn't change anything. Like as far as the systems in power go. So he's still wealthy, and they even said like, we'll just find you another source. You know, his ancestry carries him through even after independence. So like that's why it matters nothing to him. It's not like it's not life changing for him because he's just gonna keep perpetuating what he already had.
There's a deleted scene I just watched today from this. I mean, they deleted the scene, and it was like after they got the first tour to the womb, like the well, with his son. When they're coming back, that's the day of independence of India as well. So it's like this show, like someone is coming and telling him that, oh, India got, like he's seeing, and then he's so indifferent about India getting independent. He's like, oh yeah, and then they buy ice cream or something from a food seller, and then he says like, and the food seller is so happy that India got independence. They're like, no price today, everything is free for today. And he's like, okay. And then he goes away, and then the kids ask like, okay, like, why did they give it for free? And he's like, do you want more? And then the kid was like, no, I don't want to get used to it, or something like that. It goes something like that. So there was like some Independence Day thing. Thankfully that they cut that scene off. Maybe it was not progressing the story much. But what there was a wordplay with the Sarkar that I told, like, so in Indian language, Sarkar is like government as well, and Sarkar is the guy and the person who like rules, like a landlord kind of vibe or thing, right? So who gives out the rules, who looks after like people's right and wrong and stuff like that in a small village or something like that. So that's why the first guy is Sarkar, and he's like it's a new, Vinayak becomes the new Sarkar, and the government of India becomes the third Sarkar, like in literally Bharat Sarkar, like, you know, like the government of India.
That's a good
so
point.
that's a good wordplay they did with the whole independence background happening.
Like nothing's really changing.
Yeah,
It's just
nothing is
switching out
changing.
masters.
It's changing from one system to another, but the greed stays.
And the people in the places are still there.
Yeah.
It changes nothing, yeah.
So they say like they're gonna build up a village in this whole mansion area,
Right.
like because they are taking over the land and stuff like that. So yeah, let's see, like if the village is built over
that's
there.
interesting.
Yeah, that's what she said. The
That'd be
the
cool.
politician comes and says like, okay, we're taking over the mansion because it's like a what do you call it? Like-
Heritage site.
no, not heritage site. Like
It's just not legally
Left out.
owned by anyone.
yeah, it's not legally owned by anyone. So the government took it over, and then like they're gonna redistribute it, and then they're gonna make a village.
Okay,
there.
so the sequel could really be about a different family who ends up in this mansion and
No, the
finds
mansion.
this well.
Yeah. In this place. Yeah.
I don't know. I still have
Speculating.
my reservations about a sequel, but it's okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's a standalone film in itself. So,
Especially in the horror
I think
genre.
I could more. I like still saying that I'm hopeful about the sequel. I would be like more towards the director who said like it should have a thematical sequel, not like the exact story sequel. But let's see.
Or, you know,
it might
maybe-
be up for surprise, like this first film surprised us. Yeah, let's see.
Well, okay. Well, listen to this. Maybe, just maybe, it becomes like if they do a 360 and it becomes like an action comedy, Ghostbuster style. We have to hunt down Hastar. I don't know.
Yeah,
Hastar
there's
is
a
everywhere.
No, like the village comes in, they're like, we're making a bakery. They're like, no. And then, like, Buster comes every morning.
All the gingerbread men are gone.
What are you doing?
It's like Hastar terrifying the village now. Hastar, the third sequel, Hastar is everywhere in all the corners of India, like just,
Yeah, that's where it goes eventually,
yeah.
right?
Hastar's everywhere, like climbing on the
Hastar's
wall,
last
the raid
stand.
body. Right, nice.
So this is our Halloween special. Did this film inspire anybody to dress up as Hastar
shit.
this year?
Oh, I have to get a loincloth.
With gold.
No, I don't need a costume, man. I'm good.
Need to shed a few pounds.
What are you gonna dress?
You just to be in the sun for
I want to be
for
the
an
doughboy.
hour.
I want to be the. I'm
the
white
doughboy?
enough. I can just be the doughboy.
Actually, it's true. We don't even need flour on you. You're good to
I
go.
have no hair. I'm fucking good. Just look like a naked like white baby. I'm fine. Tilly, you can be my Raghav.
Raghav,
Raghav,
like
yeah.
Raghav,
offer
the
me.
guy on the wall. No, Raghav is the guy on the wall. Like,
who's the guy?
He's Vinayak.
Sorry,
Vinayak.
I fucked it.
Yeah, I'll throw Adam like this.
You can be Vinayak, Nikki will be the sun,
Hastar.
You're the
and I'll be
grandma.
Hastar.
You're grandmother Willow. You're the tree grandma.
I just want to be Raghav when he's eaten, so because I just need to color myself black. Like, just entirely charred body. Yeah, that would be great.
We draw a circle around us and no one can talk to us.
By the way, do you remember the heart pumping of the grandmother when she became she grew the tree? Oh yeah. Which kind of, okay, we can
very,
do that.
like,
Those
the
things.
the
like,
womb
whole...
had life to it. There were they had like breathing and veins.
No, also
and
the
flesh.
grandmother, like when she became the literal tree grew out of her. So her heart is displaced from her body. It's just pumping in isolation, just pumping blood or something, like in an isolation. It's like that was like, well, I mean that vision is like really good. Like out of nowhere, like that becomes that. Like when you become immortal, like you're immortal. So what happens to your body? Your body is become decaying and decaying and decaying, but you are immortal. That idea is so good because most of the time when we see like an immortal, like it's stopped at one age, right? But here it's like, okay, you are immortal, but your body is decaying.
Right.
You were just immortal,
which is cool.
which is
And
like
it's a like it's
which
a
is a
It's
horror
yeah.
in itself. Like, oh, what does immortality means? Like, you know?
But I will say, if you're interested in watching, but you're scared of horror movies, it's not that scary. I don't think there's a lot of Nikki. You were scared to watch this initially.
So I don't do well with horror movies, but I'll tell you about something about myself. Like I will always say I don't do well with horror movies, and then my friends will drag me to a horror movie, and then I'll come out thinking, "Oh, that wasn't so bad." And this is one of those moments. It's not scary at all. It's just it has that slow burn feel. It creeps up on you, but nothing like terrifying. No jump scares. It's like there's a moral lesson to be had, that sort of thing. It's great. I think it's a very easy movie to get into. And I'm actually happy that I got to see it because it's good to see that this is probably will go down in history as one of India's best horror movies, right? And they didn't even need to do any like sort of like jump scare heavy or like super cheap scare kind of thing.
I think the makers made it pretty clear many times that like all of them hate jump scares. Yeah.
I would say I think this is my favorite horror film I've watched in the past few years, like Hollywood and Bollywood combined.
Wow, that's bold.
Because
That's pretty
I used to
bold.
watch a few horror films, but like what I didn't really like about them is when people the characters just do stupid things, like they're going to
I
a
agree
dark
with that.
room or like they're going somewhere where there's obvious danger, and as the audience you're just like,
Let's
why the
split
fuck
up
would you do
in
that?
this haunted mansion. Let's split up, go individually to each room and
Right.
check out who is killing this
Everyone
guy.
isolate each other and don't talk. Don't bring your phone.
It's so frustrating, but this movie didn't have that element, right? It doesn't have that kind of like cheesy, corny kind of element. It's-
Well, I will add that because it's an Indian movie, we have songs. There are songs here and
There's
there.
one. There's
Just
but there's not
one.
much dancing. There's not like
one or two songs.
There's an
it's not
interlude.
theatrical, you know. Like
I
the
love the
typical
scene.
Bollywood.
Like there is a song, like some version of song when he's like, there's a Victoria song, like when he's first getting the wealth and getting rich. It's like of a montage of things, like he's getting richer. And there is another musical number when he's like bringing his son to a brothel. That was amazing.
Yeah.
So,
like. Can you imagine a father bringing his own
It
son
happens
to the
in
brothel?
Thailand all the time. I know, it happens in Thailand all the time, and I know I've had people tell me their dads have taken them to brothels. It's really fucked up.
Yeah, I've seen that in some other communities in India. Like I've heard of it.
I don't know about you
Yeah.
guys. I was just waiting for a
What a
musical
cool dad.
number where all the Hastars come out and dance together, but
That's why I say
unfortunately
at the
that
end
didn't
credits,
happen.
at the end credits, they should all pop up and do a little like
bad
puppet dance.
CGI.
Yeah,
Oh,
they're all
maybe-
like cheering with the little doughboy on their shoulder.
Yeah, Nikki, talk about the music. You know the
Oh, yeah.
that
Well,
music, background
okay,
score,
I was
right?
gonna mention like the one song that was in. It's made by Ajay Atul.
I forgot,
You
but the
forgot,
main
but-
background score.
But the first thing that I did when I was looking up the movie, I was, to my surprise, I think he enlisted the help of Jesper Kidd. He's like this prolific video game composer. He's like made all the memorable theme songs you hear in Borderlands, or like, well, memorable to me, or Assassin's
Sing
Creed.
along the Borderlands theme, everyone.
It's So, but like Assassin's Creed, Hitman, he's best known for his work in Hitman. He's actually in charge of the score in this movie, and I can see that he always liked to make like these atmospheric soundscapes, and it really complements the style of the movie. I would
But also like, I mean, it's still so Indian, right?
it's
like,
still pretty Indian.
It's still pretty Indian. The elements were used like it's a brilliant fusion of like his aesthetics with the Indianness of it. He made his music so Indian,
And we should
it's
just note
it's
he's
beautiful.
Danish,
Yeah,
It's Danish.
which is notable because it fits in really well. I didn't know it was a Danish composer at all.
I think he was inspired by the color of the womb being red.
Okay. All right. Anyways, so I think
right?
yeah, all right.
He is Danish because
the music sounds very red. You're right.
Eerie. Oh, second Hastar has just popped up.
So yeah, I mean, we loved it. Happy Halloween, everyone. We'll watch the sequel whenever it comes out. But I also want to see more scary Indian films. in
Maybe the ones
future.
like ghosts with
I want
ghosts and
erotic.
sex. Yeah,
Erotic horror.
ghost stories.
You have to deliver
Yes.
Because I don't think Thai horror film have that genre.
No.
Yeah,
Chantara.
this is interesting.
Yeah, we have to see what's that. Yeah,
that. Okay.
erotica and horror goes hand in hand. You
Oh.
know, like
Oh, okay.
that's the next step. Like erotica, like romance, erotica, horror.
I love that Kelly says that so objectively.
That's the natural progression
Of
of
what? Progression of what?
progression of human experience. Yeah,
Love is scary, so I see it.
Romance, erotica, horror.
Yeah, and then no, you nailed it. Horror is the last part of any relationship.
That's why rom-coms always end at that, that kiss. Never goes beyond that.
Cool. Thanks. Thanks for joining in. We'll see
And
you
go
guys
watch
soon.
Tumbbad now on Amazon Prime or
Download it.
download it. Yeah, whatever.
And enjoy a doughboy if you can.
Enjoy a classic Doughboy while you watch it.
Yeah. Joe, if you're hearing this, you screwed up on 13 Ghosts.
You did not. It's the best cult classic ever.
Bye.
I'm just taking the piss right now.
I thought you. He'll never listen.